Welcome to Ms.Carmina Reads Live. This is my channel, Ms.Carmina Reads. I am Ms.Carmina, and today we're going to continue reading Gateway to the Epicureans, Epicurus, Lucretius, and their modern heirs. All right. This time, I proposed that I should read two of these because this is going to be an excerpt from the books, two different ones, but they are quite short. So I shall begin. Wait, before I begin, I should do my due diligence. And I did say welcome, everybody. Everybody is welcome here. I'm glad to have you, and if you like what I'm doing and what I'm reading, please, I invite you to give me a thumbs up. If you want to see me again, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. If you want to do anything else, like hype this video, or if you're on the live, give me a super chat or anything like that, I super appreciate it. So thank you ahead of time. Mwah. Let us begin. Book 2, 216 to 219. And in italics, I believe this is the editor, Spencer A. Klavan, speaking to us, where he says, "This controversial passage puts forward the idea of a swerve, a random deviation in atomic movement that makes free will and conscious choice possible, setting Lucretius's Epicureanism apart on this point from the fatalism of the Stoics and the determinism of Democritus. Scholars debate whether this idea really originated with Epicurus and whether the swerve is supposed to happen anytime anyone makes an intentional choice, or if it only happened once to set the chain of reactions going that would eventually produce the various worlds." Chain of reactions? Does that take us to the butterfly theory? Or is any chain of reaction a conversation butterfly theory? What do y'all think? Because I had spoken to my professor about butterfly theory. He told me there's not much stock on that. But let's read on and see what they have to say. What Epicurus had to say about chance decisions. "We must be sure you grasp another point. When particles are shooting down through space, although their weight propels them in straight lines, at random times and places, suddenly they deviate just slightly from their paths, parentheses 220, by just so much as you could call a twitch. Since otherwise, if they were not inclined to waver off their paths, then everything would tumble down forever through the void, like raindrops in a downpour, never meeting, never making contact or colliding. Nature's raw materials would fall through endless wastes, and nothing would be made." Parentheses 225. You might think certain heavy particles, by falling faster than the lighter ones, would hit them from above and fill the void by generating chain reactions. No, this line of thought will lead you far astray. Parentheses 230. When objects fall through water or through air, the speed with which they fall depends on weight, because the water's fluid substance and the delicate consistency of air can only slow each other down so much. They yield more readily to heavy things. But, parentheses 235, but space is utterly without resistance. Nowhere is there force on any side to slow the fall. The void will always yield. It must, by nature, on account of which unequal weights must fall with equal speed through empty space. parentheses 240, through empty space. No sudden contact then, or automatic meeting from above, can ever break the uniformity of motion, letting nature get to work. And so, the paths of atoms have to bend, if only slightly, just enough. Too much would make atomic motion angular. Parentheses 245, which our observed experience refutes. For plain and ready evidence can show that weights will never fall in slanted lines, if dropped from elevated vantage points and left to plummet of their own accord. They never waver so far off their paths that we can watch them deviate. But we could ever possibly perceive with total certainty that no slight curve, parentheses 250, disturbs their downward motion. After all, if every motion follows from the last, and every movement that occurs is linked to every other by necessity, if nothing ever deviates or jogs from its original trajectory or breaks the bonds of fate, which lock the world within a chain of causes and effects, parentheses 255. Eternally then, how could souls be free? And yet they are, in every place on earth where living beings breathe. Again, I say, free will defies the fates. How could it be that each man goes wherever free will leads, not at some predetermined time or place, his changing course mapped out by destiny, parentheses 260, but as his independent mind decrees? No one could doubt that each man's own free will provides his source of motion, branching out from deep within to animate the limbs. And what can't you see, as well as when the gates spring open at the racetracks? I'm going to read that part again. And can't you see as well that when the gates spring open at the racetracks, even horses cannot instantly break out and run, despite, parentheses 265, despite their sharp desire and strength? The impulse has to spur their bulky frames and make its way to all extremities before the body can obey the mind. And so, you see the resolution formed first in the heart and in the willing soul, parentheses 270, from which it then proceeds to animate the body and the limbs. It's quite unlike the movement we experience when shoved by someone else, whenever outward pressure forces us to move. When that occurs, parentheses 275, the body lurches on unwillingly until our will can get a hold of it. So, do you see that through external force and jostling crowds can carry us along and often sweep us up? Within our chests, there is a kind of strength that steadies us, parentheses 280, and gives us power to resist. Yeah, resist. This is sounding really, really punk. Its will can ripple through the body's every limb and pull us out of free fall into rest. And so, the elementary particles, you must admit, conceal within themselves, parentheses 285, an inward source of motion all their own. Our own free movement is derived from theirs, since nothing comes from nothing, as we know. The fact of weight makes it impossible for everything to happen through collisions or external force. But what prevents the mind from moving by necessity, parentheses 290, and grinding through its own unchanging script, or moving automatically along, is just a hairline swerve among the atoms, unpredictable in time and place. And that is the end of the first book that I want to read in this live. Hey, tungsten metal! Thank you for all those stickers. They're so cute. Tungsten metal. Now this is the next book, But in between book and book, I will tell you that if you are digging this book, I highly recommend that you go listen to my other podcast, Alice in Quantum Land. It's got that's what I'm thinking about when I'm reading this. So I think it would be very interesting if this is up your alley. Book 2, 991-1104. Hello, Radiance. Yeah, I wish I was in Atlantis. I am in California. Welcome. Remember to give me a thumbs up if you like what I'm doing, subscribe if you want to see me again, and gather around. We're reading. This is Gateway to the Epicureans. I am reading book 2, 991-1104. Lucretius elaborates on the theory of multiple worlds, making explicit that it is intended to demonstrate how the universe or multiverse can operate without divine oversight. Today is Thursday? I thought today was Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. Don't confuse me like that. Anyway, let's read the text. And by the way, you all, when I say a number, I am reading these numbers right here. If you can see them. See? Right there? Right there. Because this is what we call in academia source material, the original text. Since I cannot hand you a book, I am reading it as accurately as I can to share the book with you. All right. So now I will begin reading the source material, the book 2, 991-1104. We all spring forth from one celestial seed. One Father sheds his drops of liquid life onto the earth, our mother, who receives them, gestates, and gives birth to luscious fruits, exultant trees, and us, the human race. Parentheses 995. She generates the many forms of beasts and issues forth the sustenance they graze on, nourishing their bodies for a life of ease and procreation. These sweet gifts have rightly earned the earth the name of Mother. All that comes from her returns again. Parentheses 1000. And everything the air breathes forth returns to be absorbed again and find its place within the heavenly dominions. Death can never physically destroy a thing so fully that its matter vanishes. Instead, it breaks apart what once was fused, which then goes on to bond with other things, creating something else, with the result that all the parts acquire different shapes, parentheses 1005, and change their colors, taking on new forms, acquiring consciousness and sentience, then giving both up easily. Hello, Ryan Kamukasha. Welcome and happy birthday. Where did I leave off? Which then goes on to bond with other things. Creating something else, with the result that all parts acquire different shapes, parentheses 1005, and change their colors, taking on new forms, acquiring consciousness and sentience, then giving both up easily. This shows the role of combination and position, which, when subtly altered, can transform a limited array of elements into a varied range of different things. Parentheses 1010. Never imagine that the qualities which ripple on the outer surfaces of solid bodies could be permanent. We watch them flicker into life and die. See, even in these lines of poetry, it makes excuse me. See, even in these lines of poetry, it matters what goes where and next to what. The same few letters can be used to mean, parentheses 1015, the sea, the air, the rivers, and the sun. One set of characters can signify the forest and the fields and all their fruits, the birds and beasts. And though not every word contains the same amount or kind of letters, most of them will always be the same. It's their arrangement that distinguishes what thing each word denotes, and things themselves are similarly made from smaller parts. When these material components change, parentheses 1020, their relative positions, motions, bonds, configurations, and trajectories, the order or arrangement of their shapes, the objects they compose must change as well. Now stretch your mind. Consider something new. An unfamiliar truth is straining now, parentheses 1025, to gain a hearing and reveal its face. But nothing is so simple to explain that we can hear it once and instantly believe. But neither, on the other hand, is anything so strange and marvelous that we don't grow accustomed over time. Little by little, everyone can learn to take the most astounding facts in stride. Consider first of all the clarity, parentheses 1030, the pure and limpid color of the sky, and all that rests within it. Roving stars that wander through its vast expanse, the moon and blazing its searing light, the sun. If mortal man if mortal men had never seen all this and found themselves confronted with it all at once and for the first time, what on earth, parentheses 1035, could possibly be more astonishing? What wouldn't they... excuse me, I had a phone call coming in. What wouldn't they readily believe? Sun, stars, moons, confronted with all this, possibly a sign, or what wouldn't they more readily believe? Nothing, I think. That is how marvelous the sight would be, which now, from pure fatigue of daily viewing, never phases us. I beg to differ. I look at the beautiful California sky at least every week and marvel at it. We hardly even think it's worth our time to glance up at the heavenly domain. Parentheses 1040. In consequence, from now on, never let the novelty of any strange idea suffice to spook you into shunning it. Instead, double your efforts and attention, exercise your judgment to discern its merits, and if it seems true to you, lay down your weapons. Whereas, if it's false, gear up to fight. My mind is on the hunt for explanations of the farthest things in regions of untraveled space, beyond, parentheses 1045, the walls that bound the world, where human thought bursts infinitely free and flies at will to seek and see whatever it can find. First of all, everywhere and every side of our position, to the left or right, or up or down, or any way at all, there is no limit as I have explained. And, parentheses 1050. There is no limit as I have explained, and the facts themselves can plainly show, for nature's yawning depths are evident. Now then, since the infinite abyss expands in all directions endlessly, and endlessly throughout this void there fly innumerable elements of things, perpetually moving in no way, parentheses 1055, in no way should it be thought of as remotely true that only is one orb of earth and air, whatever made, parentheses 1055. where it says perpetually moving. In no way should it be thought of as remotely true that only this one orb of earth and air was ever made, and all those other atoms just do nothing in the void beyond, especially since this world came to be by chance, a product of the laws of nature, parentheses 1060. Raw matter was colliding pointlessly and moving automatically until at last those atoms came together, which whenever they make contact, mix to form the prime components of enormous things, setting in motion land and sea and sky and all the families of living things. It follows and must also be confessed, parentheses 1065, that elsewhere other such material has mixed and mingled to create new worlds, like this one here, which our Earth's atmosphere encircles and embraces jealously. Moreover, where there is sufficient space and matter in abundance, if no block or obstacle prevents it, things are bound to happen. No surprises if they do. Parentheses 1070. And if the store of raw material is too enormous to be counted up in all the lifetimes that were ever lived, and those same laws of nature still endure, which drive the raw materials to move and which can still propel them to combine in much the same ways as they have done here, parentheses 1075, we must conclude that there are spheres in other places and other lands and peoples, families and species, other beasts. To these considerations, we may add the fact that in the whole extent of space, there is nothing that's unique or grows alone. No creature is a species to itself. Nature makes everything in generations, parentheses 1080, grouping them all together by their types. If you will find the mountain roving beasts are grouped this way, and so is humankind, dimorphic as it is, and so are fish, which swim in scaly schools, and flying birds. We must conclude that this same principle holds also for the sky, the land, and the sun, parentheses 1085, the moon and the sea, the earth, and all the rest. These too are not unique, but numerous, innumerable, formed, like other things, by fundamental laws of nature, which mark off the boundary stones of what can be. If you can bear these things secure in mind, then nature will reveal herself to you, parentheses 1090, exactly as she is, unfettered, free. She has no overbearing lords, alone, spontaneous. She does the things she does. She knows no gods, for by the gods themselves, who live eternal lives of peaceful bliss, with quiet hearts and pure serenity, parentheses 1095, what God could rule the vastness of all things? Whose hand is firm enough to hold the reins and keep them steady, tame the endless deep? Who could compass all the sky at once and roll its spheres, while also stroking flames from purest air to scour the whole earth? Who can be everywhere at every time? Parentheses 1100. Shading the sky with clouds and shattering its silences with thunder, sending bolts of lightning down upon his own stone shrines, or else retreating to the desert wastes for savage target practice, managing to miss the mark and strike the innocent? And should I keep reading? Let me see. I have time. I think I will. There's one more. And this is my water break. All right, everybody that's still following along, thank you. Now we will read book 5, Roman numeral 5, 1028-90. All right, and it says in italics, so this is the editor, Spencer A. Klavan, saying, Lucretius elaborates on the Epicurean theory of how language was formed, not through imposed convention by an original name giver, as for example in Plato's Cratylus, but naturally and automatically as a consequence of what we might call biological necessity and evolutionary development. That's interesting. And now we will read the source text, where I believe this is Lucretius, right? Lucretius saying, nature drove mankind to utter forth the sounds of speech, and then convenience distinguished all the many names of things. Parentheses 1030. The situation wasn't so unlike when children, immature in speech, are forced to gesture mutely with their hands and point out what they mean. For every living thing can sense the powers that it has to use. A calf, before its horns have even sprouted, sticks its forehead out and thrusts at things. This is true. Parentheses 1035. What things that make it angry? Little panther cubs and lion whelps will snap and swipe and fight with teeth and claws that aren't even grown. Among the birds, all species, as we see, will test their wobbling wings and feeble feathers. Parentheses 1040. Trusting in them for support. And so, the mere idea that once upon a time, some teacher handed out the names of things and then instructed men in how to say them is absurd. What gives us the idea that this one man had all the sounds and words, parentheses 1045, to give at once to everything that is, when no one else could do so? Furthermore, if others hadn't yet been using words among themselves, then how could he have known the usefulness of speech or gained the knack for forming an idea to be expressed? One man could never wrangle all the rest, parentheses 1050, or force them to consent and settle down until they learned to use the names he chose. Besides, he never could have taught the deaf by any easy means, the thing to do. They never would have sat there and endured, parentheses 1055, to have their ears assaulted pointlessly by useless sounds of words as yet unheard. Besides, why should it be a mystery if human beings having tongues and voices use their powers to convey in sound the many things their senses can perceive, since even speechless wild animals and even the domesticated beasts, parentheses 1060, emit a varied range of different sounds when fear or pain or joy suffuses them. This can be demonstrated readily. The minute mastiff hounds are spurred to rage. They stretch their floppy lips into a snarl and bare their fearsome teeth and make a noise, parentheses 1065, quite different from the one they use to bark and fill the neighborhood. And then again, when licking at their pups or cuffing them, or nipping playfully with teeth held back, pretending to devour them, their voice, parentheses 1070, is whimpering and tender, quite distinct from when they howl in the house alone, or when they're beaten and they meekly whine. Isn't it obvious with stallions as well? They neigh and snort among the mares, parentheses 1075, when in their prime. Desire spurs them on, their nostrils flaring for the clash to come. They sound quite different when some terror looms and makes them quake and whinny. Finally, the many types of kinds of winged birds, the vultures and the hawks and ocean gulls, parentheses 1080, that hunt their prey amid the salty waves, make very different sounds at different times, when fighting for their food or chasing it, and some of them will sing a different song depending on the weather. Ancient crows, parentheses 1085, and parliaments of rooks will call for rain or ask for wind and breezes with their cries. So, if the animals which cannot speak still find themselves compelled to give forth voice by various emotions and perceptions, early man must far more certainly, parentheses 1090, have been equipped to utter many sounds. All right, and I will close up this time, but I believe I may come back and do a live in Spanish because I still have about half an hour. Okay. I love you, readers and scholars. Please come back. Remember to give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. I'm closing up now, but I'll be right back in Spanish if you're into that. Otherwise, check out the replay. Mwah, love you.